Hey everyone, and happy Friday. I hope you had a relaxing Memorial Day weekend. It's time for our Friday video devotion, which I hope that you'll follow along with your family. Real quick, I want to remind you that this Sunday we will have our weekly youth Zoom gathering, and that'll be at 7:30 p.m. I'll be sending out the meeting link and the password to your family's email tonight. Our game this week is going to be reverse charades, so be prepared to get a little goofy. Today, I want to talk about origin stories. If you don't know what an origin story is, think about some of the superheroes that you know of. Take Spider-Man, for example. Peter Parker was just a nerdy kid who was bitten by a radioactive spider, and that granted him his superpowers. If you add that to the murder of his Uncle Ben, you've got Spider-Man's origin story in a nutshell. The origin story that I want to talk to you today is the origin story of the church. This coming Sunday is called the Day of Pentecost. And Pentecost is a day when we remember the birth of the church. On this day, about 2,000 years ago, Peter and the other apostles were gathered in Jerusalem. It says in the book of Acts, chapter 2, all of them were filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak in other languages as the Spirit gave them the ability. Then the apostles were able to speak the good news of Jesus to a very diverse group of people, and each person heard the gospel in their own language. It was a miracle, and that, in a nutshell, is the origin story of the church. But even this story reaches back way farther and connects to a story in the Old Testament. It's important that we remember how much the Old Testament is kind of like an origin story for the New Testament. If we look in the book of Numbers, chapter 11, starting in verse 24, we learn about another time when God helped share his Holy Spirit with a group of leaders, just like what happened at Pentecost. Up to this point, Moses is the sole leader of the Israelites as they are wandering in the wilderness. But then he gathers together 70 elders, and God places a portion of his Holy Spirit on these leaders. The story says that they began to prophesy. Now, what does that mean? A lot of people hear the word prophecy and they think it means to tell the future. But in the Bible, when someone prophesies, it typically means that they are serving as a mediator between God and humanity, like a messenger. This is a lot like the disciples of Jesus, who received the Holy Spirit and became great leaders or prophets for the gospel of Jesus Christ and in the new church. Moses was God's prophet, but he needed new leaders to assist in showing the people how to live according to God's will. Later, when Jesus came, he brought the original message from God and then empowered his disciples to continue the movement and share that message with others. The question I want you to consider is, what's your origin story? Specifically, how has God been involved in your story? I invite you to read Numbers chapter 11, 24 through 30 with your family and compare it to Acts chapter 2, 1 through 13. How did God begin something new in these stories? How have you felt the Holy Spirit start something new in your life? I hope you'll worship with us this Sunday morning and join us for our Zoom Hangout Sunday night. But until then, stay safe and healthy and share this devotion with a friend. We'll see you soon.